everyone, Dennis Chang here. It's been a while since I've been able to play the guitar because of, ongoing health issues. I'm doing a little bit better, still need to do some tests. Anyway, as of this date, what is it, July 25th or something, I'm in Okinawa. July 25th, it's my friend Allison's birthday. Happy birthday. What was I going to say? Yes, I'm in Okinawa. I just finished the tour with Duvet Dunayevsky. Nice tour. The last portion of the tour was in Taiwan. And today's video is another philosophical video because I like these topics. And I think it's very, very important to understand these things. Today's topic is about the environment. I talk a lot about this in my YouTube videos, and apparently there's science to support my beliefs that the environment plays a huge role in how we develop as a musician. And if you love music so much, you have to make certain life choices. I've certainly made mine. These life choices meaning that if you really want to progress, reach your maximum potential, it could be a good idea to find a community of like-minded people. So, there's a reason why New York is one of the capitals of jazz. New Orleans is one of the capitals of old-style jazz. Paris is capital of gypsy jazz. If you're into Chinese music, then you have to go somewhere in China, right? Things like that. And unfortunately for gypsy jazz, even though nowadays compared to 20 years ago, lots of people around the world are playing it, the major hubs are still in Western Europe. And America is quickly catching up and it's developing its own style. So that's also a good place depending on which city you go to. But for other parts of the world, it's such a small community. And that's the same in Taiwan. There are very, very few players in Taiwan. I can count them with my two hands. There are a few players in the north of Taiwan and Taipei, and there's a handful of players in the south of Taipei. And these are the ones who are really serious about, who are really trying to do something about it. Like maybe 5-6 people. That's how small the community is. Then there's some people who are kind of interested in it but not sure yet. And those are the people, we have to try to convince, like, go for it, don't give up. But the attitude to adopt is the important thing here. You have to love the music so much that you're going to seek out the good players and hang out with them. It's not only about taking lessons or even practicing at home. Something happens when you are hanging out with other music, especially better musicians. Sometimes they tell you one little thing and you think about it so much that it affects your playing. Being with them, watching them in person, somehow you absorb things. In one of my YouTube videos recently, I talked about the power of the right hand technique. And unfortunately on YouTube videos or whatever, on video, there's something that happens with the mic compression or whatever, and it's a different feeling than if you're there in person. If you ever go to these gypsy camps with like the Rosenberg family or whatever, the power they have from the right hand is just incredible, and it just doesn't translate to video. You have to be there to feel like it's a 4D thing. And so yeah, this environment thing is so important. Over the years, I've met many people who don't take advantage of the environment. I know in Taiwan there were a few people who tried to get into gypsy jazz. A lot of them gave up because they said it's too hard. Some of them said they want to learn it, but they don't want to hang out with the community. They want to learn on their own, at their own pace with the internet. And that's just the wrong attitude. Those people eventually gave up, I remember when I started with gypsy jazz, I used to go see my friend Francois, who was not a pro player, but he was already more experienced than me. He knew the songs, he had been to the festivals in France. And I'd go see him every single Sunday afternoon at this little cafe. I think I did that for an entire summer. I don't think I missed it was a Sunday or Saturday, I don't even remember anymore. And I would bring my guitar with me. And sometimes, I would ask him, what's the name of the song, or blah, blah. And then I noticed like every week they're playing more or less the same song. So I would make note of those songs and I would learn the rhythm to those songs. And sometimes, he would let me sit in. I just play rhythm. Maybe I'll take a solo. Or I remember playing a solo over All of Me. I was very nervous, even though I had gone to music school. I just didn't know how to sound in the style. So all I was doing was going up and down arpeggios. And I remember that having an impact on me. I realized, okay, I kind of know how to solo all over All of Me, but it doesn't sound anything like what I hear my favorite players are doing. Like in that time, it was Stokely Rosenberg, Jimmy Rosenberg. There were not many famous gypsy jazz players in those days, besides Django. Birelli had not even done his gypsy project yet. So, but I could hear in my soloing that how bad it was. It didn't sound anything like what I heard from Django or Stokely or whatever. And that's what set me on the correct path. You see, this environment, I just by sucking so much, that can mean two things. It was so bad that I realized what I need to do. I needed to listen to what my favorite players were doing and try to understand what they were doing. So that set me on a path to transcribing a lot, listening to what my favorite players were doing. One of the first songs that I spent a lot of time transcribing, maybe transcribing is not the word, but listening, but also trying to listen with the aim of trying to understand the grammar of the vocabulary. So one of the first ones was this Django Reinhardt 1940 minor blues. I remember practicing this with a pick. That was my first encounter with this lick. It with a pick, and then I tried to understand. It's a C minor arpeggio. That works well over C minor, and also this one. And I realized, okay, it's basically based off of G minor. And instead of taking this lick, what I did is I took the idea and I transformed it into this. I manipulated it to make it easier to absorb. So I remember doing that with that solo, taking like patterns, shapes, and whatnot. And I remember at the end there was that shred lick he does, but instead of taking that lick, I realized, it's this D7, and it's basically a scale, but starting on the flat 9. What I got out of it. So I remember that was like such a moment. It was like an epiphany. All because I would hang out with Francois every Sunday or Saturday afternoon, I don't remember anymore, and get my ass kicked, being humiliated, realizing what I do. This is the power of the environment. So long story short, in Taiwan there are a few people. In Taipei, the main guitar player who's like really practicing hard is this guy Eric. I met him during the pandemic. He had just started to play jazz. He knew nothing about jazz. He came from like playing, that kind of stuff. And he started with straight ahead jazz as a complete beginner. And then within a few years, he started to do more things that are, I could see we started to do Queen things. Then he got into gypsy jazz a little bit later. I don't remember how long ago it was, maybe 2 years or 3 years ago. In such a short time, and remember, in the worst musical environment possible, because in Taiwan there's no gypsy jazz, he managed to get to a certain level, a very respectable level, I gotta say, and he's only getting better. So I thought, all right, this is a guy who would really benefit from this education that I got on the job learning. So I told him with Duvet, you're gonna play the smaller gigs with us. You're gonna be a rhythm player, no microphone, and I didn't do this to be a jerk, but I told him, you're not gonna have sheet music with you. You're gonna try to learn everything by ear, by listening, by being in the moment, by humiliating yourself. And this is not to be mean, but there's something that happens when you're like under so much pressure, and you have to have the right attitude about it. You can't be like crying after, like, oh, I'm not good enough. No, this is, it's not easy, but being under pressure, getting kind of like humiliated in some ways, it does something to you. Either you're gonna give up, you're gonna cry, then it's game over, or you're gonna step up and say, "Oh man, that was tough. I gotta up my game. This is where I screwed up. This is where I need to fix things." And see, he was down to go through that. So the first gig, he did what he could to to learn the songs on the spot by first of all watching my fingers, listening to the songs, because a lot of songs he didn't know. I also told him to put a camera in front of my hand so he could record everything. The next day he woke up at 8 a.m. He did his best to learn as many of the songs as possible. So for the second gig, the second night, he did a whole lot better. I told him the first night that his tempo was a little bit draggy. The second night, tempo was very, very good, even on the pushing end of things, but it's fine. The songs were a lot better. Still some mistakes, but again, this learning things this way, it's one of the best experiences you can get. And again, you have to have the humility to go through this training. Because, I'm not gonna lie, it's not pleasant. But you go through it, you're gonna get better and better and better and better. You're gonna get some feedback from players better than you, things to do, things not to do. Because I always said, especially for rhythm guitar, gypsy jazz rhythm, yeah, of course you can go take a workshop, you can take a lesson with someone to learn the basic points. But at one point you need to put things into practice, and to put things into practice you have to be in a real situation, and the best situation is with high level players, and then they can give you feedback. Because I certainly got a lot of feedback over the years from different players who told me small things. They probably don't even remember that they told me small things. I remember with Vavao Adler telling me certain things about dynamics. Yeah, I remember Vavao telling me, which chord voicings to use with Chalimber as well. That he would tell me, play this chord voicing because it's better for this and that and that. That got me thinking a lot, I remember playing La Gitane for Stockel Rose, and we're playing the rhythm. At one point it's in D minor, there's an E flat chord. What did I play? I don't remember. I think I played this E flat chord. And Stockel asked me, instead of playing this, can you play this instead? For some reason it's not, but I understand this is more like traditional in the style. If you really want to be in the style. But of course there are a lot of players nowadays who do this. But the fact that they cared about little small details like that helped me a lot. And so that's what I thought, would benefit Eric. And I told him in November when Paul Schaefer comes for the Gypsy Jazz Festival, you'll be the same. Play with us. And if you do well enough, if you can learn every song, because we don't know what we're going to play until maybe the day of or 2 days before or a day before. And this is kind of like at the top level, you have to be ready to adapt on the spot. No one's going to wait for you. And I told him, if you can manage to learn all the songs and get everything perfect, then play the main stage with us. You're not going to get paid though. But this is actually very important because I've given this opportunity to other players I thought were talented. I thought, taking lessons with me is not really going to do much for you. It's better that we hang out, that that you learn on the job at this point, at this stage. Depends, there's a stage for taking lessons and there's a stage for learning on the job, and sometimes it can be both at the same time. But I told some people it's better that you learn with me on stage at this point. And what some people told me is like, well, how much will I get paid? That's not the right attitude. Imagine you have, of course, if you want to be a professional musician, at one point you need to get paid. That's true. And there's some people who exploit people. That's not good. But let's say you're a learner, you're a beginner, and you're trying to learn like it's an internship. You shouldn't be asking how much you should get paid. That's just what it is. Either you want the education, because not only that, it's stupid, because if you're gonna take lessons with someone, you're gonna spend more money. What I'm offering you is paying you just very little, but you play rhythm with me, and you're gonna learn a lot. That's the goal. Anyway, Eric did a really, really good job. So what I want to say here is, find the good players. If you love X style of music so much, you might want to consider going to a city or place where you can find like-minded musicians. The more players you can surround yourself with, more good players you can surround yourself with, the better, the faster you're going to improve. That's just how it is. And actually, the double bass player Gary Carr recently passed away, unfortunately. Gary Carr is the first solo classical bass player who made a name for himself. He was born in the 1940s. And he's the first double bass star, so to speak, in the modern world. I worked with him for DC Music School. I spent about a week with him, just under a week. He opened his home to me and my assistant, so not only was he a fantastic bass player, but he was a fantastic human being. And at that time, I had been playing the bass for a year or a year and a half, and I had been taking lessons, private lessons. But those 5 days that I spent with him, talking to him, seeing him practice in the morning his Bach and Paganini stuff, it did much more for my bass playing than the year of lessons, of private lessons that I took. I don't know why that is. There's something magical about osmosis, about the environment. So I really urge you to consider such a thing. And if there are not many players, everyone has different life situations. I totally understand. But if music is that important, maybe you can be the person to start your thing. That I know, man, Landon in Montana, he's starting a little thing, and you're starting a little thing in your own town. Different people are doing different things, and the scene in America is growing. It's very, very cool. And again, Taiwan, those handful of people, not all of them are guitar players. Some of them, there's my friend Michelle, she plays the oboe and piano. My friend Larry plays the bass. There are a few people trying to do something. These are the people that need the most who need a lot of encouragement to continue, to create a community, so to speak. It's all about the community. So moral of the story, try to develop your social skills so that you can be likable. Hang out with these great players, be nice to them. A lot of them are professional musicians, maybe some of them are starting, treat them to dinner, hey, can I buy you coffee just to hang out, to pick your brain. If I understand, like the economy is not so good. It's not always possible to take lessons. You take occasional lessons or tell them, hey, I'm willing to, play with you, just back you up, I'll buy you lunch, whatever, I can be your rhythm slave, things like that. Reach out to people, because that's definitely what I did. I reached out to so many players. I asked them. In those days, I used to organize small concerts with players. They would stay at my place. Man, it's thanks to those players that I learned so much. So hopefully you can do the same. Okay? So what you just saw in the beginning of this video was one clip with Eric playing. And here are a few videos from the main concert. Enjoy. Thank you.
biggest fear? You have a bee? A big bee?
Made in China, right?
One, two, three. maybe the most famous, or second most famous composition of John Lennon.
小闺房里面好不好
Is this gonna work?
Yeah, it's gonna work. I'll make it work. We don't need that screen. Yeah! Bye.